two-bedroom apartment. So sometimes I slept on the floor, sometimes I just had a mattress, sometimes I made a pallet, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, so the odds worked in my favor. You know, a lot of things were going against me. I had a lot of anger, a lot of these things. The odds were in my favor. But besides that, I was able to graduate from college to get my master's and going for my PhD. So I will soon be a doctor in the coming years. I was able to play in the National Football League, played in the NFL for 2 years. I was able to own my own business now. And, you know, I was able to accomplish these things. And I just want to give you guys kind of just the 3 things that was the most important in my life to get to where I came from to where I am now, all right? The first thing was I made good decisions, all right? So this age right here, you guys have a lot of decisions that you're going to make. And a lot of times you think you're going to be my age before you start making good decisions, but the most important decisions that you make are going to happen when you guys are this age. And I remember a story, my 8th grade basketball coach and my dean said, "Walter, you have all the potential in the world, but your friends are going to be your downfall." And I had no idea what he meant by that. And I was mad, I was angry. I'm like, man, you don't know my friends, you don't know me, all these things. And soon and behold, not even 3 months later, I'm at football practice and my friends decide, they decide to come out for the football team. And then between practices, he said, "Walter, man, let's forget this, man. Let's just go, on the block." And at that time where I lived, it was Knox Street. And let's just do things, that weren't good and weren't beneficial to me. All right? And I made the most important decision I ever made in my life at the age of 14 years old. And it changed the trajectory of my whole life. And I decided to stay at football practice, and they decided to leave. Fast forward 4 years later, out of the 8 people that were in my little clique, my little 8th grade lunch table, only 2 of us graduated high school. I was the only one that went to college. I was the only one that graduated from college. So when that decision I made at 14 years old kind of made took me to this place. And a lot of my friends now, some of them are in jail, some of them are not here. Some of them turned their lives around or are in the army or doing some positive things. But, because of the decisions that they made, they are where they are and I am where I am. So I challenge you guys today, make great decisions, make good decisions. I didn't always get it right. I didn't always get the decisions right, but the important decisions I got right. And you guys have a lot of decisions you're going to make, especially, being in a place where you have so limited opportunities like I did. I had limited opportunities. So the opportunities that I did get, I had to make and take full advantage of it. The second thing, I worked hard, all right? Diagnosed with special learning disability. And a lot of people expect a lot from me. They might say, "Oh, I know Walter was going to do this. I know Walter was going to do that." A lot of things weren't expected from me. They kind of wrote me off. All right? But there's one thing that I had. I felt like that, in spite of my shortcomings and my limitations, I felt like I had something like, I'm going to prove people wrong. I'm going to be that exception. I'm going to, people think I'm this, but I'm really not. So that got me to work very hard, whether it was in the classroom, whether it was, on the football field. And with that, by the time I was in 8th grade, I actually tested out of special ed. Not because I was smart, but I just did the work. I worked hard, I was good, I didn't start no trouble, things like that. And I was out of special ed. By the time I was in 8th grade, they were like, "Well, you go to high school, you ain't got to be in special ed no more." And a lot of times they give you these labels. I don't know, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but a lot of times you give them labels. I was getting labeled as, a poor kid. I was getting labeled as special education. I was getting labeled as, he's not going to do nothing with his life. And I had to prove them wrong, you know what I'm saying? And I had to, which brings me to my third point, I had to have faith and belief in myself. And that's my third point. You got to have faith. And with faith, there's 2 things. There's one thing, there's a why. So you got to have a why. Why are you here? why are you doing what you're doing? And, you know, my goal was to play the NBA or the NFL. And why, what was my why? Why I got up in the mornings? When my school started at 7:30 in the morning, I got up at 6:30 and was lifting weights. It's because, you know, sometimes at night, I used to cry myself to sleep because I was hungry. And, you know, it's like, you know what, when I get older, I'm never going to cry myself to sleep again. I'm never, if I'm hungry, I'm going to be able to eat. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to wait until the next day till, you know, breakfast or lunch at school. And that was my why for a long time. It's like, you know what, the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want to live how I live now. And the good thing is, too, I didn't take any shortcuts. All right, a lot of times people like, you know, I don't want to live like this. Let me take this shortcut like my friends. You know, whether it was drugs, whether it was gangs and things like that. I was like, you know what, I know where that ends up. Either be dead or in jail or in trouble. You know what, I'm going to think of, you know, long term, not just for the short term. All right? So, I did those things, I had faith, and once, you know, my why became, it wasn't enough for me, because at the time when I was in college, you know, I was eating good, you know, I was having some success and things like that, but I realized that I was still depressed. I was still, you know, I had all these hurts and wounds that I had from childhood, and, you know, not having my father in my life, and just all these things, this anger that was inside of me. And when I was able to release that was doing sports. And when sports weren't going right for me, I fell into a deep depression, all right? It got so bad that one day I was lying in my bed and I was like, you know what? And I'm just gonna keep it real with you. It's like, I lied in my bed and I was like, God, if you're really real, I need to know right now, else I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the morning. And in just all honesty, you know, you can believe what you want to believe, but, you know, that night I felt the presence of God come into my bedroom. He came and he hugged me, and that's the most peaceful sleep I've ever had in my life. So with that, I had belief. So I had a belief in something that was bigger than myself. And when you have belief, and you believe in something so much that you would sacrifice what you see right now for what you will see in the future. So I had a vision. Belief gave me vision. Belief gave me a sense of identity, because my identity was wrapped in what I did playing football. And sometimes football ends, no matter who you are, whether you're Peyton Manning or you Walter Mendenhall. Football, sports, you know what I'm saying, fame, those things are going to end. So you're going to need something that's bigger, that's going to sustain more than that. So once I got a belief system, I started to identify and find my identity in who I was as an African American male. I found identity in, you know, being a man of God, which says that I am a chosen generation and I'm a royal priesthood and that I'm a prince. And once I realized that, I started to walk like a prince. I started to talk like a prince. I started to dress differently. And I ask my kids all the time, if you were Barack Obama's son or daughter, would you be acting the same way you acting now? Would you? No, right? Because you have an identity. You know, if you're the president's son or daughter, there's a certain standard that you have to have. And, you know, I challenge you right now that you all are, you know, sons and daughters, and you all are here for a great and unique purpose. And you all are destined for greatness. And a lot of times we just, like we said, we hide our light. We don't believe that in ourselves. But you guys are worthy. Once I realized that I was worthy to be loved, once I realized that I was, you know, uniquely and wonderfully made, it changed me, man. And women, or women mostly, I'm sorry, I'm used to talking to men. It changed who I was. It changed my walk. It changed my talk. It changed everything within me. And I just come to you today just saying that you guys are destined for greatness, all right? You guys are beautiful young women. You guys are worthy to be loved. You guys are worthy, you know what I'm saying, to get whatever you want out of life. You're worthy to have your dreams. You're worthy to have your desires. Those things are attainable to you, all right? But the things are, you're going to have to work hard. You're gonna have to get a why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you want to be successful? And you get a why. And you gotta have vision. You gotta look beyond right now, these present circumstances. And you gotta go think about what you're going to be, not where you are right now. And if you do those things, whatever you want, you can have. And with that, I'm done. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer questions. And just again, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. They asked me and I came. Because I feel like you guys are worthy of it. You guys are, it's an honor and a privilege to be here, to speak to you guys, either for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes. It's an honor and a privilege from me to give that to you. All right? So is there any questions or anything?
Any questions for Mr. Mendenhall? Well, I have one.
Yes.
So how was it growing up in a housing project like this?
So I really did not grow up. My dad grew up in the housing projects, and I was there, but I never lived in them.
Okay.
All right, but my dad would tell me that it wasn't the ideal circumstances, but it made him who he was. And yes, he did make mistakes, but my dad right now, even though he has his flaws, he did get his college education, and he inspired me to, like he said, if you want it, you can go get it, you know what I'm saying? And that's one thing I appreciate about my dad. Even though he wasn't the best parent, he did let me know that, if I wanted to do something, I could do it.